Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm V. LaBianca.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we need to talk.
It is episode 6, season 1. Hey V, how's it going?
Hi, it's going good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're glad to be on the air. If stuff is going weird, let us know. We will do our absolute best. But holy crap, we moved. We were going to film the day in the life video that we promised because we're monetized.
We started to.
We started to.
Waking up, making coffee, brushing teeth, and then the day went sideways.
Yes, because we got sick. We ate something bad, and so we didn't get the chance to put up foam the way we wanted to, and so the room is echoey and weird. Just a little bit. And
also, it's our first time using lav mics instead of SM7Bs, so like, woo, all the room.
Yeah, actually, do you want to show them?
I would, except my earbuds are now chaining me to the desk.
Okay.
We're gonna need to
figure that out.
We're gonna need to figure that out too before we can actually move around.
But we're in a much bigger space, and we're planning on utilizing this space. It's just going to take us time to build up the set, but we're really, really excited. We're living together.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun, and we're just glad that y'all are here with us and enjoying this with us. So before we dive into calls, we do have a few calls, but I would love to have a couple of more. If you'd like to talk to us, now's the time, especially if you're a believer, now's the time to call. You can call 585-LMURPH or go to tiny.cc/callsg, C-A-L-L-S-G, and get connected to us and talk to us and tell us what you believe and why. That said, let's do our regular announcements.
Yeah, we do have a couple of things that we want to go through. First, we are wrapping up our month of the hashtag SG Flyer campaign.
We are.
Which means that we have our last winner this week. And we are super excited to announce, let's see if this goes up.
Just go ahead and hit it. It goes.
It goes?
Yep.
Gonna trust. All right, at Rootbert. This is Soundologist on Twitter. Posted these everywhere in her town, everywhere, and was actually interacting with people and saying call in, which was awesome. So thank you, Soundologist. We will be contacting you shortly to DM you about your shirt size and where we should send that baby.
Absolutely. And we are in contact with Redbubble, who is making the shirts, because they're taking their sweet time.
They really are.
We haven't been receiving stuff from them yet, and so we're just waiting. And as soon as we get it, we're going to sign them and send them off. So thank you for your patience.
Absolutely. We also got a couple questions this week about the ads on our videos, and if there were patron levels that got you to opt out of ads and have ad-free versions of the whole show. And we hear ya. We are working on something. In a couple of weeks, we are going to be doing a couple of changes to the Patreon. And the thing that I'm really passionate about is making sure that nobody who is currently getting all of the things doesn't get anything now, or like anything is taken away from a tier because they're giving fewer dollars per week. So what we're going to end up doing, and this is
do we want to? I mean, it's going to be a bit.
It'll be later this month. Next month, it's July. We're going to be making sure that we are going to start putting out ad-free versions of the whole live show after it's aired. And so there will be access to that. We're going to talk about which patron tiers get that, but everybody up until the point that we implement that change will get that.
Well, they'll be grandfathered in.
So if you are a patron now, you will continue to get all of the perks.
Yeah, because everybody's been getting everything.
Right, exactly. And we don't want to change that retroactively for you. So we're still going to figure out the ins and outs of that, but that's coming up.
It is, and it's taking so much time because, I mean, we've got so much going on in our lives. It's a lot, just because we're moved into here mostly doesn't mean that we're not moved out of our old places, that we're just... So thank you for your patience. But now that we're feeling good about that?
Yes, although we are getting notes that we can't be heard over call-in studio, so people on the line cannot hear us.
Okay, so callers cannot hear us, or they can't hear the
They can't hear us.
Okay.
Like the show, the live stream.
Okay,
We're gonna do some
testing live on the air. Salvatore, can you hear us? Salvatore, in Louisiana. Hello? Nope.
I heard
Okay.
something.
So that means we're going to need to do some vamping and all of that, but that's okay because we've got all of our regular stuff to talk about. Do you want to do the disconnect and reconnect, or do you want to vamp?
It's kind of become tradition that I'm the vamp king.
Sounds good. Everybody on the line, we are going to be dropping and restarting call in studio, so call right back in, please.
Absolutely. All right, call right back in. We're going to be redoing this. In the meantime, I do want to make sure that we are plugging our merch store. We have been, I don't know if you can sell out at Redbubble, but if you can, we're like getting close to the Book of Eric.
We're doing really well.
There are so many people who have had awesome conversations with theists about the Book of Eric, so it's doing exactly what we want it to do. So that's super exciting. If you're interested, our Redbubble is, linked in the description. You can also just go to Redbubble and search Skeptic Show. Apart from that...
Today's one of those days.
Wrong one. Apart from that, if we deserve it after all of these tech issues, you can donate in various ways to help us out. The things that we are doing right now is we're going to dive into building the set. Now that we have the studio, now that we have the basic setup, we want to be able to actually build this set. So if you're interested in doing that, you can donate to Patreon. You can help us out directly by going to our Amazon wish list, which is tiny.cc/SG wishlist, which is a tongue twister for me. Or you can also buy us a coffee now.
Yes, we actually had our first person buy us a coffee the other day.
Yay, thank you. Coffee purchaser. That's an easy way to give us
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line.
This is terrible.
Enter your show or meeting number and press pound.
Oh no.
Okay, if you all can hear that. Oh, that's not fun.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to get worse.
PIN
I'm
number.
just going to mute myself in my own head so I can keep talking. All right, you guys.
Welcome, host. You are
from
now
that,
in the
we
host
didn't have
room
an
and can
outro
manage your
until,
callers
2
from the
minutes
Call-In
before
Studio
live,
web
so
interface.
Let's hope that works.
Let's see. Helena, can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh,
yeah.
thank Christ. All right, popping you back in the queue. Sorry.
You heard it here first. An atheist thanking Christ.
Okay, so where are we?
We are, I don't even know anymore. We might want to go and make
Let's
sure
just
people
dive-
are still with us.
Let's just dive into calls.
Yes, I think we should. We should probably do that.
Okay. Could we take Helena?
Yes, one moment. Helena, welcome again to the show.
Helena in the UK. you're
Hello,
live.
yes,
You're live with Eric and V. Hey, oh my goodness. We're just glad that the stream is still up, I guess, right?
Yes, indeed.
Helena, what did you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I managed to go down a rabbit hole yesterday on the internet
Okay.
As
and
happens.
found a few things which are against the argument for attention design.
Okay.
So it doesn't disprove it, but it begs the question: if God was perfect, surely he would have done a better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is the general consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
the first one is obviously, sorry, I've written notes because I lost my original notes from the other night, but obviously Earth being in the Goldilocks zone, it's not actually in the best possible position for it.
Well, agreed. I mean, there are lots of arguments that are like that. We've got a planet that is far more of this planet is inhospitable for our life than the other way around. So you would imagine that if a God could create everything, that a Garden of Eden could be just as big as the entire planet, and we wouldn't have, these deserts, and we wouldn't have so much, undrinkable water all over the planet that we'd be able to populate that would be better design, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that, like, in terms of, obviously, where Earth is in the solar system within the Goldilocks zone, we're actually towards closer to the sun than we probably need to be. For more vegetation, it would actually be best to be towards the colder side. I mean, I'm not obviously a scientist yet, but so
Yes,
wants to
I like that.
check this, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I remember hearing an argument about this as well, which is they're like, if we go when they give, I don't know what the numerical value that they give this thing, but like
10 feet.
10 of these one way or the other, then all life is dead on the planet. It's amazing. It's perfect. But they're talking in really big terms, right? It's like saying if this phone was 1 yard in either direction, then it would be off the desk. But you're like, okay, well, but what if it was like a foot off? like then it doesn't matter as much. So the way that they're trying to make it seem super fine-tuned, they're just talking in bigger terms so that it conceals the fact that there's actually a lot more variables than they want to believe.
Well, that and there are just so many directions besides that. No, first off, we orbit the sun in an ellipse, so there are times when we are far, far further from the sun and far, far closer. But also, just this idea that there are, cosmic constants that could somehow change or be different that would make life inhospitable is ridiculous. I have no reason to believe that the cosmological constants could be different. Come at me, call in if you disagree, because I want to have that argument. But the idea that, if things were just a little bit different, well, okay, if water wasn't wet, then you wouldn't, get wet when you ran through a sprinkler or something. It makes absolutely no sense to me. So, but I don't know, hopefully we can get a caller who believes that and who can talk to us about it, because what I really don't want to do is I don't want to straw man, a lot of those positions, because some of them can be very nuanced. And so what we should be doing and what our goal as good communicators should be is to listen, find out what they really, think, and then address those concerns on a one-on-one basis. That way we're not straw manning them.
That said, I think that it's super important to kind of, if you're a skeptic of any kind who wants to call in and get ready for an argument with somebody or bounce ideas about how to respond to something, that is also totally something we would want to do with you. So if you're calling, you're like, you know what, I had this argument and this is what I said, but I feel like it wasn't quite right. How can I better represent my position? Or am I holding the right position in the first place? That's also super interesting in terms of conversation. And before we let you go, Helena, I do want to make one more point, which is even if we were perfectly dead center in the Goldilocks zone, right? And even if everything was actually perfectly aligned for life, that still does nothing to prove any point about anything else. We could easily grant that and be like, okay, well, sure, and and so I think, yes, it's absolutely important to be a good science communicator and a good educator in that way. No, it's not actually accurate what they are saying, and we should call them out on that. But even if we were to grant that, I don't want anyone to think just because they don't know the science or just because they might accept that part of the claim, it doesn't make it any more convincing.
No, yeah.
No, it could be completely right and it still wouldn't prove anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's even a theory going around at the moment that, like, when we were single-cell organisms, viral infections, like viruses, affected the earliest DNA, which is why the sperm entering the egg is so similar to a virus attacking a cell in the human body.
I have no idea about that.
They can't prove it, but apparently it's like they're kind of working on, but not really. It's something it's a rabbit hole I went down, so it could be wrong, but it was interesting.
I would definitely love for some biologists to call in and tell us about that, because that'd be interesting.
Torben.
Yeah, I'm just someone on the internet.
Call in.
All right.
That's awesome, though, Helena. Thank you so much for calling in today. I know that it's a little bit later in the day for you, so thanks so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We had some really cool theist callers, religious callers who were in the queue, raring to go, and then we had to drop everybody and wait for them to call back. And well, not all of them called back. So give us a call. Tell us what you believe and why. That's the kind of conversation we want to have. That's why we have we've been putting out the flyer campaign, because if people don't know about the show, they can't call in. If they can't call in, then we're not going to get to have the conversations that we want. We've seen in the comments that people have been saying, oh, how come they're not taking more theist callers? Is this an intentional thing? We take who calls in. So if you want to see those conversations had, please
Tell your theist friends.
share it out. 585-LaMurph.
585-526-8774.
Or tiny.cc/callsg. All right, we ready to move on to the next caller?
Yes, let's talk to Allison. Allison has been talking about calling in for a little bit. She's even been in the line a couple times, and I am super curious about this conversation. Welcome,
Yeah, hey, Allison.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, I called in with ghost hunting from a skeptic's point of view.
Okay, so just so that we have a baseline here, do you believe in ghosts?
I want to believe in ghosts,
You
but I have
want-
found no evidence to their existence.
Okay. So, well, let's hear what you have to say first. What specifically about it did you want to talk about?
Well, when I was little, I had an experience, and I didn't know what it was, but I was like 3 or 4 years old, so I can't really trust the memory. I thought I saw a ghost.
Okay.
That being said, it got me interested in the supernatural and ghost hunting and things. And I was being raised as a Catholic at the time, so it's like, well, I guess ghosts could exist if somebody could rise from the dead. So why not? And as I got older, I love ghost stories and
Sure.
movies and stuff like that, horror movies and things. So it just kind of followed that I got into ghost hunting in like the early to mid 90s.
Okay, I got to ask, what kind of tools do ghost hunters use? I've seen some weird stuff on.
It's fun.
Okay,
Is that-
everything they use on TV, don't use.
Okay.
Go in there with maybe a camera. You go with a video camera.
Okay.
GoPros are great, just so that you can see what you can record what you're seeing.
Okay, so you're saying you went.
All that other stuff, they have no idea what they're doing with it.
Okay. Well,
it
let's.
doesn't work like that.
So we're referring to it, but it's not. It's still very nebulous. So let's kind of dive into some of the details on this. Let's say I want to go and I want to hunt a ghost, and I bring a tool that I saw on TV. What's the tool called?
Camera. That's
Camera.
What you want to bring.
Cool.
Yep.
What can I point at?
Want to bring a camera?
No, hold on,
And
Allison. Hold on.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm more thinking like EMF readers and things like that, but cameras are fine, right? So let's say we're looking over footage. There are things that people see on footage that could be, that they say, oh, that's evidence of a ghost. The people point at little orbs and artifacts. Is that something you experienced?
Well, an orb, you can get those pretty easy.
How?
Just go to your house and stomp on a rug for a little bit, and then take some pictures. I guarantee you'll get some orbs.
I absolutely agree. What other things? I think I've seen electromagnetic frequency detectors, EMFs, or something like that.
Yeah,
Why do they?
most people have no idea how to use them.
Okay, what are they? I don't even know what they are.
Basically, an EMF reader scans the electromagnetic field around you.
Okay, so
And lots of things can interfere with the electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
Your own body gives off a small electromagnetic field, so there's things like that. But like when somebody goes into a place and they're like, oh, it's really creepy in here, and they pull out their EMF detector and they get a weird reading, most likely the person has bad wiring in the electricity.
So how many years did you do this for?
I did it up until, well, I still quasi do it today. I'm not very mobile anymore since I have multiple sclerosis. so I can't really go into places that would be difficult to move in.
Yeah.
So mainly I watch a lot of the videos of ghost hunters and stuff like that, and I pretty much debunk them as I watch them.
So Allison, just as far as your hands-on experience, when you did it, did you do it for a weekend, for a summer?
No.
Is it something you did for 20
no,
years?
I did it for years.
For years?
I did it for years.
Like 2 years?
Yep. 10, 15.
10, 15 years. Now, out of your 10, 15 years experience, did you see anything or come across compelling evidence for the existence of ghosts?
No.
Damn.
Nothing.
Damn.
And
Okay.
I would go into places and I would do. You can't do like just one look at a place if it's haunted. You have to like set up and do multiple things.
And
I also was a member of the Society of American Magicians for a while, and we would ghost hunt for people.
Magician
Cool.
ghost
Trick or
hunting.
group
That's cool.
yeah. All right. Well, I so as interesting as that is, I'm trying to pull through it. Kind of what we're the aim of the show is specifically talking to people about possible supernatural beliefs of theirs and why they believe them.
Basically what it is. I mean, I want to believe in ghosts. I think it'd be cool.
I
it'd
do
also
too.
be very dangerous if they're anything like in the Japanese horror movies. That'd be bad.
That'd be cool.
But,
I agree. But I would love for you to call in about something you do believe in, because I don't want a lot of callers calling in to say I want to believe in heaven or something like that.
Oh, I didn't really mean it like that. I meant it more as like things to look for people if they're like looking for ghosts and stuff.
Got
what
it.
to look for.
Okay, so let's zero in.
If you watch,
if you were to pick five things to look for, what would those 5 things be? If people are encountering somebody at work who says, "Oh my gosh, I believe in ghosts and this thing totally happened," what are 5 things people can look at and go, "Okay, let's go down the list"?
first you need irrefutable evidence, and basically like multiple camera angles of this whatever it is entity.
First, that could be all 5. Irrefutable evidence would be the goal here. So you're saying first.
I'm probably over speaking what I'm thinking.
That's okay.
Yeah,
first, let's set up multiple cameras and see if you can get the same phenomena across different cameras. What's another thing?
Things from every encounter.
Cool.
Then you want to make sure it can be repeatable.
Okay.
Like you didn't just see something once. Like you have to get it multiple times.
Okay. So you talked about video evidence. What else?
Video evidence is the big one. Then you also want eyewitness accounts with the video evidence.
Okay, and making sure those.
Then need to completely debunk the area and ensure that it's not caused by something else, like a car driving by a house makes a shadow figure.
Perfect. That right there is the application of skepticism. And I think with that we're probably going to move on through. But the application of skepticism is when you come across a phenomena and you don't know what it could be, say I don't know, and then investigate every possible thing, because your example of a car driving by and casting a shadow.
Exactly. That and like noises and things that like when you pick something up as like an EVP, it's most likely a radio broadcast.
Sure. And I appreciate it. I'd love if you called back and maybe we can talk about a toolkit for people to go here maybe 3 or 4 steps. What to do
I can give a very easy toolkit. Bring a notebook and write everything down. Also, having a tape recorder or something to record your notes verbally, and have cameras just to visualize everything so you can review.
Perfect. Cameras,
don't fully trust your
notebook, tape recorder, and
don't fully trust your eyes. I like that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Allison, thank you for calling in. Or V, did you have?
And going with the idea it's not haunted.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for calling
Thanks
in.
so much, Allison.
No problem. Have a good.
You too.
Oh my goodness. So I do want to point out, when we first moved into this house, the very first night we got the key. We were like, let's go back in the evening, pop a bottle of champagne,
celebrate. We're so
feel
excited
good about it. We get in, and there is something wrong.
It
right?
feels unsettling.
It feels unsettling. It feels unsafe. It feels like something is gonna happen. It's just
Kind of nauseous.
And I can totally understand how somebody would walk into that room and be like, this, the vibe is off. This might be a haunted place. Something bad happened here, you know? And then we investigated a little bit, and it turns out that all of the lights were different colors, like
in every room, all of the bulbs
were different. They were all different colors, all very dim. And then we looked closer, and all of the walls were painted slightly different colors. Like, not enough to be obvious, but just enough to throw you off. And so we changed out all the lights. We repainted, which took forever.
Yeah.
And the house felt fine.
Yeah.
So I love what Allison said. Go in with the assumption that it isn't haunted, and see if you can disprove that. Because chances are it's something that your brain is registering that you can't hear yet, or can't quite like determine or see. There's a thing there, sure. Is it a ghost? Probably not.
Yeah. And really ultimately what could have caused, because why would you wind up with things the way they are? Well, there are a lot of people who, let's say, don't make sure that they get the same paint color every time. And so they only do things when there's a problem. And okay, well, I'm just gonna go get a white paint and, cover that area. And just over the years, over time, it just kind of builds up into this terrifying collage of, awfulness that we had to paint over, but we're glad that we did. Feels good. Anyway, you ready?
Yes.
Let's move on. I'm having a day.
You are having a day. Let's talk to Salvatore. Do you want to talk to
I
him?
really want to talk to Salvatore.
Okay. My grandpa's name was Salvatore. So that's cool.
Oh.
Salvatore in Louisiana?
Yes.
What would you what'd you call it to talk about?
First off, look, can I take a moment to fanboy just a little bit?
Sure. Give us a minute to catch our bearings.
Yeah, no, I've been listening to y'all forever, and I'm just really happy to be talking to you guys. So,
cheers.
Yeah,
I'm glad you found us. Salvatore? Hello? You might have hit the mute button.
Didn't know.
There you are.
There you
Hey.
are.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. There you are.
Okay. It might be my Wi-Fi going in and out.
No worries. We're going to do our best.
All right. What can we help you with?
All right. Hey, guys. So I deconverted or deconstructed almost a decade ago.
Cheers.
And I actually I studied to be a Catholic priest for 4 years.
Really?
And
Wow.
one of the things, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Was never ordained.
But you were in it.
Oh yeah, no, I was in it to win it, man.
Okay. So, but you found your way out?
I did. It took me a long time, a very, very long time, and a lot of heartache. But one of the things I was...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I keep hearing myself talk over y'all, and I stop. Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's a bit of a delay. It takes practice. Honestly, hosting, we hear our voices in our ears the entire time we're doing the show, and we've, but after 5 years of doing it, you kind of get used to it. But go ahead. Don't worry. If just assume the best, and we're going to assume the best from you. If you talk over us a little bit, we understand that it could be the delay.
Awesome. One of the things I did, and I was, 21 years old when I did this. I did my senior thesis in seminary on the problem of evil.
Ooh, okay.
And so I'm used to some of the theological gymnastics that Christianity and Catholicism has to jump through to kind of answer that problem or that question. Mm-hmm. And after I deconverted, I still held on to a lot of those attitudes and beliefs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, is maybe in the past year or so, I've been thinking about the evil and the definition of evil. I'm like, for so long, I defined or thought of evil in terms of that which is opposed to God. Mm-hmm. And I looked around at the world, and I still see things that I would classify as evil. But again, I'm questioning and always trying to think through things. I'm like, well, how do we talk about evil now as a skeptic? Like, it's not that these things are opposed to God, because there is no God. But are there moral choices that rise to the level of evil? Can we call it evil? And so I just kind of got muddled, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call Eric and V and see what they have to say.
What a subject.
This is so good.
I mean, the problem of evil, and really what's amazing is there are a lot of apologists who will hang their hat on this idea that the existence of evil is so irrefutable that they use it as a proof for the existence of God.
Yeah.
And so...
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that when you dive in deep enough, you take that microscope and you zoom in and you zoom in and you zoom in and you find that there's nothing there. I mean, let's look at some evil. Let's talk about evil, right? Because I believed in evil at one time. V.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So can we go with a non-Hitler evil?
Yeah. What?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let's brainstorm. What do you think, Salvatore? What's a good example of what you would have looked at in the past that you may have called evil that maybe you're questioning now?
Ooh, I got one. How about abuse of a child?
Damn, we're just going straight in there. All right, trigger warning, potentially for some people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get heavy on a Sunday morning, y'all.
That's right. I mean, let's be real. If you're going to have this conversation with a believer, they're not going to pull out the small guns. Okay. So is that kind of abuse, is abuse of a child evil?
So I would say it could be. It depends, and this is kind of where I get hung up. It depends on the intent. I mean, here's the questions I have, and I'm not saying that these are right or wrong. Is it the extent of the abuse? Is it the intent of the abuser? Is it the duration of the abuse? If you just have, like, you spank your child one time and that's it, that can be considered child abuse? Is that evil?
Well,
or are we talking like prolonged, grooming, and I don't want to get into like triggers or anything.
Yeah, I was thinking worst of the worst here, and instead of picking apart what it could be, I do have a suggestion. Is it vile? Yes. Is it reprehensible? Yes. Does it need to stop? Yes. Should we do our absolute best as a society to make this world safe for the next generation and for future generations? Yes. Do we view it as immoral and unethical? Yes. We can talk about morality, we can talk about ethics, because those are things that we create. Those are our values. And when you look at something like abuse, to say something is vile and reprehensible is not purely owned by theology. It's not purely owned by religion. The idea that you can see something as absolutely horrible is not completely, within the realm of religion. In fact, I would argue that you could only look at it in a secular way, because saying, this is bad because my invisible friend says so removes your own autonomy to be able to make a decision about the thing in the first place. You're just you could be just a psychopath on a leash, and the leash is whether or not you go to heaven. But following the rules, just because God said so, has nothing to do with what you think about the situation.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like the term vile, right? To me, sometimes unethical doesn't carry the same weight, but vile has kind of this visceral hit to it,
I would say that, being that words are just tools that we use to describe concepts, and usually there are multiple concepts combined within them, I would say that everything you just listed, vile, unethical, against, what we understand to be helpful to the species, all of that combined, we could call evil if we wanted to, right? Evil The problem with evil right now is that it does have a lot of religious baggage. And like you said, Salvatore, a lot of it does have to do with what is against God or what is antithetical to what we consider to be good, which also needs to be put under the microscope a lot of the time. But if we wanted to continue to use the word, I don't actually see a problem with it as long as we can come to a common understanding of that definition. So for me, if I see somebody abusing a child, that feels evil to me. And the reason it does is because it's both unethical and it's vile, and instinctually, I know if we abuse the next generation, if we put them in danger, we're gonna die out. And that's a bad thing. That is aberrant to the way that we should be existing.
Ooh, that's a good word.
And so I think that
I like that word too.
all of that combined creates this concept of evil. So it's not that it was created purely to describe God and whatever is not God. I think it has useful context. I think that it can, like you said, have that heavy hitting, like visceral kind of, this is evil, this is just purely wrong. The point that I think we need to get to is, can we get to a place where we can use that term without invoking the supernatural? So that would be my take on that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, and I know that
it is, and it's so frustrating. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just distill evil and just kind of break something down until we can isolate the evil component and say, well, it has about 3 grams of evil in it, and measure it that way. But that's just not how we use that term. It's a descriptor, and because it's a descriptor, I think you're absolutely right. It's a definitions thing, and if we define it to be something that's useful to us, then that's perfect, so long as the other person understands.
I think we could probably come to a pretty universal understanding of what that word means if we use like a Venn diagram and like, is this unethical and is it also antithetical to survival? In the middle there, that would be evil. We could debate everything else.
Okay.
But I feel like that would be, I don't know. Give me your thoughts in the comment section.
Is there?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say also in the go ahead.
My bad, y'all.
No.
Is there a qualitative or part to it as well? Like, does it have to? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'll watch the video. I'll mull over. I might give y'all a call back.
Yeah.
Please do. I also really think that that's a good point, because if we say, okay, there's a quantitative aspect, like 3 grams of evil, but then there's also a qualitative aspect. That is a heavy word to use, and people may be using it based on their personal preference and what they think, that qualitative quality, right? And that could become a problem as well to communication. If I'm saying abuse of a child is bad, and someone else is saying being gay is evil, like they're not. If we I don't know, like there's that qualitative. I don't see a moral equivalency between those two. Right, but if we're saying there is a qualitative aspect to it, then we have to say, okay, well, who gets to decide what qualifies?
Which is where the apologist sits and goes, well, my imaginary friend says that,
So
which is
it's
just bullshit.
Very interesting conversation. I loved this.
Yeah.
Awesome. Also, I know that we mentioned trigger warning for anybody who is muted. I know that somebody in the chat was nice enough to say they will let them know that we're done talking about it. We're done. You can turn everything back on now. Thank you so much for being sensitive and considerate, you guys. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much, Salvatore, for calling in.
Yeah, this was a good conversation.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing. V, I also read tarot cards as well, and I'm learning runes, so
nice.
I'm right there with you.
Super cool.
Yeah.
It says it says in the notes that you're pagan.
Yes, sir. I'm a member. Do you mind me talking about it for a minute, or do you want to?
I want you to call in on another week so we can just dive in on that. That would be a lot of fun. But I do really want to proudly say, hey, we had a productive, awesome conversation, and I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. I'm going to hang up and squee now, guys.
Take care,
Sounds
man.
good. Bye.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Aw, that was really nice.
Hang up and squee.
So it looks like Torben, who you called out.
Yes. Well, I didn't call out. I wanted him to call in.
Well, Torben has called in.
I am so excited to talk to Torben.
Torben in Arizona. You're live with Eric and V.
Hi. So I wasn't super prepared to call in today, but I guess V made that determination for me.
Okay. What's going on?
Yeah. So I guess let me just lead off and say that I'm a medical student and I talk to V on Twitter a lot. So I guess that's why I'm getting called out for this.
Okay.
But I pulled up something about what the previous caller was talking about with sexual reproduction and viral infections.
About the sperm.
So it looks like this was a study out of the University of Maryland in like 2017, and the foundation, I guess, this guy was studying fusion proteins in single-celled organisms like algae and stuff, and was saying that this fusion protein is very similar to fusion proteins on viruses, such as like Zika virus and like other viruses that infiltrate cells.
Torben?
And
Can I ask a question? Because I'm so out of my depth on this. What the hell is a fusion protein? Because all I'm thinking about is like Dragon Ball Z. And it's not good. So please.
Yeah. So a fusion protein is just it's a protein that is required for, I guess let me use a virus as an example. So it allows a virus to bind to a cell, and then inject whatever contents, or sometimes the virus might go inside the cell. So it's like a docking point on a cell to let something else inside.
Okay, so are you saying that a fusion protein is something that structurally enables that process, like the way it's shaped?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're saying that this protein is a necessary component for that process to happen.
Okay.
But it seems like a little bit of a stretch that they're drawing this comparison to sperm and an egg, because yes, you do need a fusion protein for the sperm to interact with the egg, but there's no evidence that I can see that it's the same protein, just a similar concept.
Kind of like how evolution has like created crabs 20 different times.
And how birds and bats both wound up with wings, but along totally different routes.
Right, there are things that work structurally that might not actually be connected directly. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that like it's obviously like it's possible that this is an evolutionary precursor, but there's no way for us, at least at this time, to make that claim.
Okay, but it's cool, and I love that. I love that y'all have a expert who can call in and clear something up. That's cool.
I am obsessed with Torben, not gonna lie. Torben, I know you've been putting out some stuff on a new YouTube channel. Before you jump off, because you've been so helpful today, would you like to tell people where they can find you?
Oh, I'd love to. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Student Dr. Ben, and I address anti-trans talking points. So I talk a lot about biological sex and why it's not binary. I'm also doing a new series about puberty blockers and why they're necessary. So if you want some nerdy science,
heck yeah!
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Nerdy trans science, like.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so when this gets released, this week, we're going to make sure that we put a link to everything that you brought up, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling in, Torben. Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah.
You killed it, by
Thanks
the way.
for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk to Shannon in Tennessee. Do we want to take one more caller after this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We still have.
We've got 45 minutes.
Yeah, we still have room for callers. Shannon, can you hear us?
I can.
Perfect. So, people watching, give us a call. Now's the time. It is 585-526-8774, 585-LaMurph, or tiny.cc/callsg. We want to talk to you. And yeah, Shannon, sorry about that. What did you want to talk about today?
No problem. I have recently had a family member kind of change their whole kind of personality and become interested in a lot of, I would say, spiritual type of things. One of them being tarot card reading.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get these kind of. I've heard you talk about the tarot card reading before. It's not something I'm really versed in. So when she comes at me with that kind of thing, I don't have any real kind of personal defenses to speak against it, but I'm awful skeptical of it.
What is that kind of thing? Like what is she saying? What's the argument about?
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
So about 2 or 3 years ago, she suffered a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last couple years, it seems like her personality has changed. So she's gone from someone who I thought was fairly liberal to someone who she thinks she is a Native American princess. She believes, obviously, a lot of the conspiracy theory talking points, along with COVID and other things. And she used to be in the health profession. She went to school and got a degree as a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It gives us a pretty good picture.
It gives us a picture of who she is. It gives us a picture of the change that's happened, and you know, you now this is, you know, the person that you're talking to. I'm really curious about the Native American princess. Does she think that her parents were Native American?
She was told that everybody that was in the town that we grew up in, not born in, which was a small community town, everybody in that town was originally Native American.
Originally?
And she believes that our great... Say that again?
I'm confused. Like originally, as in like it was indigenous population, and then they left, and other people came and inhabited it, or they changed.
Or it was just an indigenous population from as far back as anyone remembers?
I'm not sure I have a whole lot of clarity to give you.
Yeah.
This is
I mean, that's fair. This does seem a little bit out there. I would say that the tarot card readings are not the biggest problem right here. Like, yes, if this is the vehicle where she's using to maybe tell people things that are uncomfortable or untrue or harmful, absolutely we should call that out. But also, I think that there's probably a whole lot more that is also a problem.
Yeah.
Is there something specific about the tarot cards that make it the thing that's coming to mind for you? Like, is she telling people things that are harmful or hurtful?
Well, it's just mostly, that's my interaction with her at this point. A lot of the other stuff is happening with my parents, trying to kind of not wanting to cut off their daughter. I've told her several times that if it's a toxic relationship, you know, it's your choice to say whether you want to be part of that or not. But my mom is adamant about keeping her, in contact with her, even though she says her things. But my interaction with her has been she, is basically going to read her tarot cards for me, even if I'm not going to agree to it, and it will have a lasting effect in her opinion that it's going to matter.
Oh, that's not nice. So, like, here's the thing. It's the same with praying for somebody, in my opinion, right? Where it doesn't really, no, it's not going to actually do anything. Like somebody praying for you to come to harm, or somebody reading tarot that will influence your life in some way. They're both equally ineffective. Like that's not how that works, A, and also B, it's a useless endeavor, but it is totally justifiable and understandable to be upset by it because that other person believes that it will influence things and is actively disregarding your ability to consent to a thing in order to influence your life without your consent. And that's bad across the board of that other person. Should you be worried about it? No. Is it okay to be upset about it still? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if people have watched us from what we were on before, Tawana the witch was supposed to have my teeth and hair fall out, by 6 months ago. So I definitely agree with that. It just because somebody wants something to happen doesn't mean it's going to come true. And in that case, I still have my teeth and I'm very happy about that. I still have my hair, so that's good. But really, I'm trying to think of the best way to be a generous interlocutor. What would be the best way to interact there? And I'm trying to put myself in her shoes. And, based off of what you said, I do know that people want to feel special. They want to feel included. They want to feel like they have, privileged information. And in my experience, that's often been the basis of where, that happens, right? Why is being a flat earther so important to so many people who believe it? Because they're part of a special club. They're part of the special group. And it sounds like she has found a lot of different places to get that special feeling, that encouragement of there's something unique and amazing about you. And that's hard to replicate. It's hard to replace. It's almost addicting, to when you get it. And so
I think one thing, again, I don't know the quality or the contents of these conversations around tarot. I don't think right now the concern should be necessarily debunking it to her. Like clearly she has other things that are also very much out there and not real happening in her brain. And so it's probably going to be a very big uphill battle to try and get her to think critically about a lot of these things. But what she might be trying to do, especially if she's had a stroke, especially if you've noticed certain changes in her personality or her relation to reality, it might be a way that she's trying to communicate with you, right? I don't want you to put yourself in a situation where you feel like you are being attacked or you are being, in any way made uncomfortable or any non-consensual situation. But I might engage with this in a way that opens up a door for conversation, because it could be that this is a vehicle that she's trying to use to communicate. And of course, this is me talking out of my ass as a stranger on the internet, right? This isn't an official diagnosis. I know nothing more than you've told me, but it could be useful because ideally the way that tarot is supposed to work and the way that it is helpful is it creates that dialogue between two people, and it can help you sort some things out just by thinking about things in a different way. And if you can get to a place where you're using it for that and not using it as some kind of hocus pocus spell work, I'm gonna do tarot on you.
I'm seeing the future.
But the thing that I don't understand is how you could do tarot to somebody without their consent. Clearly she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, but ultimately, it sounds like she's got a lot of growth to do, and you can't make her. And people in the comments, I just want to be super, super clear. Just because somebody had a stroke and they've changed in some way does not mean that that change is being caused by any kind of brain damage, because there are lots of people who don't have strokes that believe these same things too. And so she deserves the same consideration as anyone else, and to leap to that conclusion would be really shitty on our part. So I know people in the comments in the live chat aren't trying to be mean, but I just want to make sure that we're holding ourselves to a higher standard, and we're making sure that we're treating somebody with dignity, respect, and with the understanding that the choices that they're making are theirs.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I mentioned that was just because that's kind of one of the correlations that we've kind of seen looking back as to try to, what's different type of thing.
Right.
And both of what you said was extremely helpful, both Eric and both V. And my wife has even said the same thing, that it's her way of kind of communicating. I guess what kind of brought it to kind of where I wanted some advice about it was during Easter, just out of the blue, while we were on kind of a family Skype call. She just started to kind of center in on me and, kind of just tell me what her beliefs were. And she uses loaded language.
Oh, yeah.
Like something like we're all mutants, and to make some kind of broad claim. And then I finally got to the point where I started to say, okay, well, you're going to have to define mutants for me. And then she defined something that was pretty much generically, normal. But she's using all this loaded language to kind of get a rise out of you. And for me, I said, we can talk about this if you want to, but I'm really not prepared for it. And I even said, why don't we just talk about something else? And then she didn't respect that boundary and kind of came at me again. And so I kind of felt, one, I'm not in like a surprise situation in those regards.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, yeah, if they're not respecting your boundaries after you clearly set them, they don't get to be active with you unless it's on your terms. I mean, and that may sound shitty from the outside, but for those of you watching, every interaction you have is on your terms and their terms. And if somebody does not want to be a part of an interaction, they don't have to be. If somebody is going to be pushing things on you after you've clearly said, this is not what I'm about, this is not okay, then if you say, hey, no is no. No means no. Just stop. And if they don't, I mean, yeah, it sucks. I felt, I've had to do similar things with people close to me, and I felt like I was holding myself hostage until they changed that behavior. But the fact is, in continuing to relent to, someone not respecting your boundaries, it can be horrible. And you don't deserve it. Nobody does.
I have a hard time reconciling that when I agree with you, Eric. And between that and what V said of trying to, not shut them out completely, and maybe, if they're trying to reach out and have some kind of conversation, I do agree. And I definitely felt uncomfortable, and I really haven't talked to her since. And it's just, but that kind of, it stuck with me for so long, of just thinking that, hey, I felt attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is valid. If you feel attacked, then that is all you need to make that distinction and move a little bit away and distance yourself from that person. And especially in a situation like this, where maybe a sit down, rational conversation isn't on the table, then you don't have too many options. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge that, right? Because this isn't on you to fix. You don't have to fix anything. This is not your problem. If you wanted to say tomorrow, you know what, this person is making my life more difficult, and I don't see a way to resolve that, at least not kindly and in a way that is productive, you are absolutely okay to walk away from that person, right? This is not something you should be taking on. But at the same time, if you did want to reach out, I think that might be an interesting avenue to take. The weird part of my brain is saying, you get a deck of tarot cards, and then just tarot card her and just throw down Pokemon level, just start throwing down cards. And,
no. I would want to see it for just the entertainment value, but I don't know if that would help.
No, I don't think it would actually.
No.
Maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
But Shannon, this was an incredibly helpful and useful conversation to have, because this is the problem with these kinds of coping mechanisms, right? A lot of the time, they can divorce you from reality, and I guarantee you, if it was prayer instead of tarot cards, there would be fewer confused people.
Yeah.
Because one is a ritual that is accepted as normal, and one is a ritual that still has some like mystery around it. Not everyone does it, but both are harmful if you are using them to attack other people or make other people feel attacked. So thanks for calling in, Shannon.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care. It just makes me think, you know, the Native American princess thing.
Oh God.
It's when you're talking about, you know, rituals and practices that people aren't necessarily comfortable with, that they didn't grow up with. A lot of people can fetishize other cultures in ways that it's gross. It's really gross.
But it's bad in the best of situations when you are in a position. I don't know the background or personal attributes of this person, but like when you combine the taking of a culture with the history of actually taking that culture, especially considering the horrific findings that are happening in Canada right now.
Yeah.
Just, it's bad. It's bad.
It is.
Also, just, yeah, don't do that.
All right, let's take another caller.
All right, we have another caller, but we would love to take a couple more as well. If 2 or 3 more people want to jump on the line, we do have time for y'all. We want to make sure that we're taking as many people as we can today. We are going to be doing after show on Discord. If we wrap up a couple minutes early, that'll give us a couple extra minutes there, so be sure to hop over there.
And we'll talk to people.
Yeah.
Have some one-on-ones.
All right, so...
Allison, our chaotic kitten in Canada. Our chaotic kitten in Canada? My God.
Hi.
You just want us to stumble. That's not nice.
Chaotic kitten.
Okay, so
You can just call me Allison. It's okay.
that works. That's so much better. Allison, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, okay. First off, it's so glad to talk to you both. I've talked to V before, but I haven't talked to you before, Eric. So
Hi,
it's really
Allison.
nice to connect.
Yay. What do you want to chat about?
Well, I wanted to talk about specifically healthcare and pregnancy and reproductive rights and how it affects trans people, like especially trans men.
Okay.
Like I was researching recently about if there's any actual clinics that are designated to treating trans men while they're pregnant.
Okay.
And I couldn't find any.
Okay, so I am so ignorant on so many things in this area. Can I just pick your brain a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. So first off, I guess we should clear the air. Are we going to fundamentally disagree about something here?
I hope not.
Okay, good. Do you think that trans men deserve rights and deserve medical care?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, they do.
So we don't need to argue about that.
100%.
Perfect. Is getting medical care, for pregnant trans men, an issue? And if it is an issue, is it an issue in your country, in Canada, or in the United States, or? What's the context here? Because I just don't have it.
There's no, it's not really well known. There's not many services available in general. And then people who debate abortion, they don't take into consideration the medical side of things. Like even cis women who have other medical issues, like say a blood clotting disorder, and the medication that you need to take to treat blood clots is a blood thinner called warfarin, and that affects pregnancy to the point where if you keep taking the warfarin during the pregnancy at all, it does create defects in the fetus. It harms the fetus a lot. So the next step is to treat the woman with the person, I'll call them people because
it's not just women.
Sorry, I'm kind of nervous here. Sorry.
No, that's okay, Allison. I think calling in about this is important, especially considering the fact that right now in the UK, they have completely shut down gender clinics. There are officially no people who specialize in certain attributes of gender confirming surgery. I believe that in the UK, there is nobody who is qualified to perform bottom surgery on trans men.
Really?
Yeah.
In the whole country?
In the whole country. It's huge, the onslaught against specifically, like, I want to say specifically trans men, but a lot of the time trans masculine people and trans men who need some kind of medical attention are kind of erased. They're not talked about as much, and so a lot of the facilities and the things that they need are kind of left by the wayside. And I think pregnancy centers and people who are specialized in, you know, working with trans men who are pregnant is such a big deal as well.
Wow. Jeez.
Exactly.
Holy
And
crap.
I was reading an article on a trans man who was trying to get care at a pregnancy care clinic, and he called in, and the person on the phone was like, okay, well, we need the woman who's pregnant to talk to us and book an appointment. And he's like, no, you don't understand.
It's me. I am the person. Yeah,
I am pregnant. I need care. Yes, I identify as a man, and I say male for my gender, but I still have a uterus, and it has a fetus in it.
Yeah.
So
and it's a problem.
There's a bun in the oven.
And interestingly, and I love that we're talking about this, because one of the things that can really help get a point across to somebody, even if they're already logically there, is being around people who challenge you, right? Because here's the deal. I knew that trans men and trans masculine people had reproductive organs, right? And that was not something I pushed back on or like was credulous about. But at the same time, it didn't really hit me as much as when I joined a hysterectomy for non-binary and trans men group on Facebook, and was just, there are so many trans men and trans masculine people who are dealing with issues that historically, at least to most of the population, is primarily considered a women's health issue. And it just completely reframed my own perspective on it. And so, Allison, the fact that we can talk about this is important, because as a skeptic, it's one thing to say, oh, well, I take this concept with a grain of salt, or maybe I'm accepting of this thing that isn't very well known or isn't mainstream. And it's another thing entirely to actually synthesize that information and start to do something about it. You know, so it's one thing to say, oh, yes, of course, it's not just cis women. There are people of all kinds who can get pregnant, sure. And that's great, but it takes another moment to sit down and actually interact with these issues and think about the implications, to actually get from skeptic to humanist.
I'm just I'm amazed that I have so many questions. So is the existence of somebody using different pronouns, do the pronouns themselves causing somebody not to get the same kind of treatment they would get if they'd used other pronouns? That's it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Some of it, yeah. So there are also pregnancy centers that are women only. So someone who identifies as a trans man would not have access to that facility because it's women only. And
so is this like a TERF thing, like a weird TERF clinic?
No, because
thing?
if you think about it, like there are plenty of trans men who pass, who can go stealth, who still would have this issue.
Yeah.
And so if you walk in and everyone would assume that you are a cis guy and you're not, you're gonna get kicked out.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So if you just looked at the person behind the counter and said, "Hey, I got a uterus," could we do like?
they would think you're trolling.
They
They
would
would think you're trolling.
They would think you're
kick you out.
trolling.
Yeah, which is so one of the reasons that so many of these care centers are so up in arms is not just because of transphobia. It is partially. There is just the concept that they don't understand this yet. But also, these centers have been attacked by cis men many times. Like the concept of protesting outside Planned Parenthood, the bomber who was like targeting Planned Parenthoods, they have to be, you cannot get into some of these Planned Parenthoods in the city without being buzzed in through 3 doors because there is so much fear around somebody, usually a cis guy, walking in and
Okay, but what about, I feel so ignorant. More questions. What about just like a pap smear? What if it's just like basic non-pregnancy related stuff? Would you be turned away from a clinic if you needed to get that as well?
depending on the clinic, there's no protection for you. So if the nurse was not comfortable, sorry.
That's so weird. Okay, so let's bring this into action here. For people who are watching, for people who want to know, how do we get to a world that is going to make sure that people get their medical needs taken care of, regardless of the pronouns that they're using? What do we do? Where can we support it? How can we help? What do we look into? What's our call to action?
That's my question. That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, shit.
I really want to start really bringing awareness to this.
That is a great first step and a huge one, being able to bring awareness to and talk about these kinds of things and come with enough information to be able to push back against the inevitable backlash, right? And that, again, is where the street epistemology concept, where that ability to dialogue and interact that we practice every week on this show is so important, because it's fun when we're talking about, do ghosts exist? Or when we're talking about things that like, okay, are ghosts real? Cool, let's have this dialogue back and forth and actually, hone our skills, and it's fun. But when we're talking about something like this, where there's actually a lot of real lives at stake, all of those skills can be used to actually change minds and get your point across. And that's why, one of the reasons why it's so important to do this and to have these kinds of conversations. So awareness is one thing. Torben, who was on the show earlier, is going to be a trans doctor.
There are a couple in the chat.
Yeah, the more people we can get into healthcare who are trans or who are at least good allies is going to be probably the biggest change here. But before we can do that, we need to make sure that these people are not held back financially, right? There is a huge wealth gap between cis and trans people. there's a huge wealth gap. There's an inability to get jobs. There's an inability to be housed. Like, there are so many basic things that trans people need in order to be able to get to the point where they are stable enough to be able to go to medical school and change the system from the inside. So the first things that we need to be doing are not just talking about this issue, but also talking about the related issues that would allow us to fix this later on.
Okay, and from a larger perspective, are there any places that people can go to see if there's legislation in their area? Are there any organizations that are working to make sure that, hey, anywhere it says, pregnant woman, that you just say pregnant person? Where can we go? Where can we look?
One good place to look, I'm actually posting it in the chat, is American Atheists has this thing called the State Legislation Tracker. And it's super useful because you can go to your state and see all of the legislation that is being introduced, and they particularly point out things that go against that separation of church and state. And right now, as we've seen across the US, most of them are trans related. Most of them are an attack on trans people, as well as people who need reproductive health care, right? Those are interlinked, and those are both in the sights of the evangelical conservative kind of overreach. So a really good way to check out if there's something in your state, at least in the US, that's definitely a place to go. Internationally, Allison, I know you're in Canada. Is there anything in Canada that you'd like to shout out?
I haven't found any specific places that support trans, but I haven't really started looking all that much either. But a quick Google search showed me that there was, I think there's only 2 or 3 doctors in all of my province that actually does trans health and surgery, but that's only the surgery. That doesn't even include monitoring reproductive health or STIs or any of that stuff.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to I just wanted to, I've got an idea.
What's your idea?
We have a blog.
We do have a blog.
And if
SkepticGenerationAnswers.com.
Yeah, if people are having trouble finding those links, then I think if we can compile a couple of those over the next few weeks, maybe we can put out a blog post that has those, even if it's just saying the same thing that's, 12 other places. If it makes it more available for people to be able to find those links, I think we could do that, yeah.
Absolutely. So here's what you do. Under the video, if you want to have a link that you found useful or you think might be helpful, drop it in the comments and we will review it and see if we can get it into that blog post.
That would be awesome. Let's crowdsource this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in, Allison. This is a very important topic, and I know that it's a little bit out of what we normally talk about, but I think that it's important to kind of highlight a couple things. First, the conversations we have are prepping us to have the important ones that are going to impact other people's lives. So yes, it's fun and it's entertainment, but it's also super important. And two, the reason that so much of this is still an issue is because, Allison, both you and us, we live in predominantly religious cultures.
We're in the heart of Texas.
We're in the heart of Texas, which is, I can't think about too hard or else I will start spiraling. I'm
in Canada, Texas. So,
Canada's Texas.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's important for a number of reasons. Thank you guys for listening to that. I know it was a little bit off of what we normally talk about, but no. This is our show. This is what we're deciding to make it. And when we decide that a something needs to have attention put towards it, that's the great thing about us having our own show, is we get to do that. That is
Allison,
true.
thank you so much for calling.
You're very welcome, Via. and Eric, and I look forward to talking to you both more about this kind of stuff. And we didn't even talk about the being non-binary and having to go through all of this, all of the women-oriented clinics, like being misgendered constantly and those kinds of things.
Right. And that level of...
It's all just so important.
Yeah, these are important conversations to have. Thank you so much for calling in, Allison.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day,
Will do.
and good luck with your settling in.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're hoping to. Well, we'll take it afterwards. Take care. Yeah, we've got so much to do. I remember we had foam on the Amazon wish list, and people bought foam, and we're looking at. And now I'm like, we were woefully
underprepared.
We
need more foam.
I kind of want to show people we're doing our best to make things look good. But let me show you something. Are you ready?
Oh, careful, you're
We did not have enough.
No.
I kind of want to turn the camera.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm going to unplug you those so that you can walk around.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So here's the deal. We have so much in store for this space that it's the reason why we got these lav mics. I know that it was shared on a Patreon thing, but we can move away. Can they still hear me? Can you still hear me? All right, cool. All right, we're going. Are we ready?
We're ready. Let's do this.
Okay, cool. So we're going to pan towards V. This is the room we are in. We need to put up curtains. And then panning back. There is lots of space. I mean, we are planning on getting up and walking around and actually being able to do tons of stuff on this set with multiple cameras. It's just so much we have in store for you, and we're so excited and ready to just do this, to have this adventure together. I'm coming back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so if you are interested in helping us out,
Holy crap, because we need the help.
it's a lot of space, and it's more space than we thought it was going to be, which means that we need more foam. The amazing panels on the back here were sent to us from Poland, which is amazing. We would love to be able to use more of these. These are amazing.
Yes, and we actually have an amazing patron who wants to help with that, which is incredible.
Oh my gosh.
And just, we're on our way, you guys. We're on our way. We've got so much more for you. If you're wondering where the bird sounds are coming from, they're coming from outside.
We're in the country now.
And we have so many things to do in this room, and we're hoping that every week when you come in and you watch what we're doing,
something new.
Something new, something different, and we're hoping to get the audio quality better, get the video better, get more cameras in here, make this space something that has actual, furniture and
depth,
height
and width, all 3 dimensions. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And we know that we've been a little bit off the grid this last week, moving and everything, but we're back and we're going to be moving pretty fast moving forward. So stick with us.
Absolutely. All right. Did we have time for one more call, or did we want to start reading off our other stuff?
Let's read off the super chats.
All right.
We missed one right at the beginning of the episode. There was one and it disappeared.
We did, and it was a $10 donation. Thank you so much. We're sorry, for some reason it dropped once we started the stream. But that said, let's read those super chats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with Exceptionally Average, who says, someone with the username starting with "to go with the good news," or quote, or some such garbage called me Satan last week. I happy cried there's some money to help me celebrate. I don't understand.
It's so nice when somebody calls you Satan.
Oh,
and
got
you're just
it.
like, my job here is done.
Okay.
I'm good. Jonathan Fuller, $10. Thank you, Jonathan. anyone remember Paranormal Home Inspectors? The two main people would discuss the hauntings as if they were real, but one guy was an actual home inspector and would just be like, yeah, it's bad wiring.
I didn't know that.
That sounds like
Nice.
fun. I love that.
Chimp says, here's a small donation. Love the both of you. Sending love back. Thank you.
Briar Rook, $4.99. I was literally about to say the same exact thing, Briar, so I'm glad I get to say it. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes. Ooh, you know what? I can do a thing.
Oh.
I can do a thing, and yes.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Are you ready?
No.
Try now.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Not bad, right?
I like it. I like it. We're having fun today.
And then Oz, who donated $50, says cash for foam. Oz, thank you so much.
Foam cash.
So we're working as hard as we can. We're doing as much as we can to provide the best quality show to you. We want to thank our volunteers. For those of you who are going to watch the outro, here's the deal. We are going to be updating it monthly. So this is the last of this outro. Starting next episode, it will be updated with our patrons. And if you want to be thanked at the end credits, go to our Patreon.
Putting it up again, huh?
That's the tiny.cc/donate to SG. That is how you can get on Patreon and be thanked. If you don't want to be thanked, send us a message because we're making sure that all of our patrons get thanked at this point.
Absolutely. So you can opt out if you would like to, but you're going to have to let us know.
Yep. Other than that, I think it has been one hell of an episode. I'm ready to just lay down, I think.
Yeah.
It has been one heck of a day. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. Anything else? Oh, our ending.
Oh, God.
Okay, so until next week.
The hell was that?